welcome to this week's episode of Classroom. This time, or this week, it's a bit different. We're not talking about the markets. We're not trying to analyze particular details for you. We're discussing something that's become an issue quite rampant for us, for people who are going to step into the professional world, and for anyone generally who's been on the employment horizon. Three very, very special guests join in to talk about that. Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, VC and MD of Zensar Technologies, also former chairman of NASSCOM, Sandeep Chaudhary of Hewitt Associates, and Ambarish Raghuvanshi of InfoEdge. As the designations might suggest, this one is about retrenchment and what you should do beyond that, both from an employer and an employee perspective. Gentlemen, great to have you on the show. Ambarish, let me start with you. First, just give me a sense of how things have shaped up over the past couple of months. I mean, have you genuinely seen a big rise in the kind of CVs that you get or in the hunt for a new job?
Well, the first thing is that I think, corporate India, first of all, is reacting very differently from what, companies internationally are, responding to. Internationally, people are, quite happy to announce, large layoffs, and markets understand that, and all stakeholders understand that. But in India, I think the Jet Airways episode was an example. And in general, neither markets nor any other stakeholders really understand when companies announce layoffs. So my sense is that corporate India is really doing layoffs largely by stealth. It's not, very deliberately announced layoffs. But, coming to your question about, rise in number of resumes, no, not particularly. In fact, I think, job seekers are pretty much staying put right now. They, if they have a job, they're quite happy to, stay on and not really apply to too many jobs or seem to be hunting for jobs at the moment.
Sandeep, that brings you to the most, or us to the most fundamental question on why there is a need for retrenchment right now.
Right. So, retrenchment or layoff is rather one of the most desperate measures that organizations perforce have to evaluate to combat slowdown, to cut losses. In recessionary times, whenever you essentially have to just go back and revisit your business fundamentals, you might just end up taking a decision of either shutting down a line of business which is not necessarily the most profitable, falling into the core activity of business that you do, or even shut down certain locations, etc., which is obviously throwing up redundant workforce. An organization which is in transaction stage of either merging or essentially in an acquisition mode would again find some bit of redundancy in the workforce.
Ganesh, Sandeep used the term, it's the most desperate measure, and probably the most headline space has been grabbed by IT as a sector. I think Bangalore must be the most gloomy city in India right now. What is the situation for most IT companies? Has it boiled down to this being the most desperate measure where you are a little bit splitting at the seams, if you will, and you need to cut down the kind of workforce you've had over the past few years?
I think it's really been magnified largely by the press over the last few months. Because I think right from March of 2008, we've all been very careful. We've cut out all the excess flab. The performance bar has been raised substantially. And I don't see any mass layoffs happening at this point of time. A couple of companies did talk about getting maybe 400, 500 people off their payroll. But at this point, I think we're all optimal. We are managing our utilization extremely well. Of course, I think every employee or every associate must be aware that the performance bar is being raised. So people must be able to demonstrate that they have capability, that they can get billing on clients, and there is really no room for slack. But I wouldn't think there is any big doom and gloom at this point of time. It's being magnified by what's happening around us, and my own expectation is that if people wait and watch for the next 4 to 6 months, the job market for IT will certainly come back probably by October, latest by January. So I wouldn't worry too much.